Students, in today's class, I am going to discuss the theme of the novel Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Huxley was a well read and learned thinker, having his own views and ideas on various matters. And to convey these views, he adopted the form of the novel because he could convey them more effectively and appealingly through this medium, that is, the novel. He held definite views on various subjects and conditions on the modern age, and these subjects form the themes of his novels. For example, he had his own approach to and views on matters related to science, progress, and modern civilization, etc. And he took up these themes for his novels. He was a keen observer of contemporary social and political reality and sought to portray it in his books, especially his early novels, and to satirize the ills inherent in it. He realized the dangers of an over dependence on science, which brought in its wake, or we can say that which brought with it an overindulgence in materialistic pursuits and physical pleasures. The immense progress made by science tended to suppress the emotional and spiritual aspects of human life. Huxley dealt with this situation in his novel Brave New World, which is concerned with the theme of what would become of man and the world he lives in if such excessive subservience to science and technology continued. Brave New World presents the picture of a distant future portrayed in order to satirize the present. There is an alarming tendency among human beings to make the best of the latest advances in the fields of scientific and technological knowledge. Their life is gradually becoming mechanized, and there is occurring a corresponding loss of human individuality and personal initiative. They are becoming like machines. And if these things are allowed to go on, if these things continue, man will become an automaton controlled and guided by the powers that be, with no feelings, no emotions, no sentiments and aspirations of his own. In a way, he will be dehumanized. And this extreme situation, likely to arise in future, also forms a theme treated in Brave New World, the new world, the future world. And by presenting it, Huxley actually wants to warn us against it. He deals with the present problem of overpopulation and the dangers attending it by showing the production of children in laboratories, in test tubes, in the future world, and letting them grow into manhood with complete serfdom to the rulers and an absence of moral values in them. And these bottle products, these test tube babies, were released from moral tensions because they were so conditioned that none of their actions had moral consequences. They are totally feelingless and emotionless, and they don't have any values and morals. Brave New World contains a foreboding of the future and depicts the predicament of the individual in a mass community. It shows as to what will become of the individual in a socialized community where greater emphasis will be laid on community than on the individual man and woman. Brave New World expanded these forebodings into a horrifying picture of a socialized and sterilized society dominated by the principles of community, uniformity, and stability. There are other writers also, there are echoes of other authors also, and primarily it is a challenge to Wells, H.G. Wells' Man Like Gods, and G.B. Shaw's Back to Methuselah. Brave New World embodies a warning about the future of man based on scientific and technological progress. It seeks to caution human beings, man, against the likelihood of the establishment of a totalitarian state or society if the right of the individual to be an individual, each man unique and free, is not safeguarded. According to Huxley, in his foreword, he writes in the foreword of the novel, the theme of Brave New World is not the advancement of science as such, it is the advancement of science as it affects human individuals. The 20th century has witnessed unprecedented advances in the fields of science and technology. Huxley realized that these advances, which were almost universally hailed as progress, were full of dangers. Man had built higher than he could climb. He had unleashed power he was unable to control. And Brave New World is Huxley's warning. It is his attempt to make men realize that since knowledge is power, he who controls and uses knowledge wields the power. Science and technology should be the servants of man. Man should not be adapted and enslaved to them, or should not be their servant. Thematically, Huxley presents the mutual opposition of two worlds. One based on the ideal of scientific industrialization and represented by Mustafa Mond, and the other on the Laurentian ideal of primitive vitalism represented by John, the savage, who lives in the primitive world. Man has to make a choice between these two worlds, the new world and the primitive world, the present world and the future world. The dualism inherent in Huxley's theme may also be expressed in terms of another kind of dualism. One of the critics has said that Mr. Huxley's theme, embellished though it is by every artifice of that ingenuity of which he is a master, is primarily dual. One of its aspects being the power of autocratic dictatorship, and the other, the possibilities of this power when given the resources of a really advanced biological engineering. The most private activities and relations of man, like physical relations, are directed from above. Mr. Huxley shows us the state of affairs when the attack on post and premarital and pre-pubertal taboos has long succeeded. The erotic play of children is encouraged. Universal sexual relations are the rule. And indeed, any sign of the beginning of a more deep and lasting affection is rebuked and stamped out as being anti-social. Huxley presents an alternative in the form of the savage's escape from this world, even though it may be an extreme one, that is, death, or we can hear in this case it is suicide. He seems to condemn the life or society into which the savage has been brought. He is on the side of the savage and opposed to the future world, the new world likely to be created by science, dominated by science and technology, or say advancement. Having built up his picture of a scientifically controlled state, Huxley proceeds to demolish it by introducing the character of the savage, that is, John, who represents the old world of religion and natural values, and who voices Huxley's opinions in two long conversations with the controller of this brave new world, Mustafa Mond. The savage tries to call on the people to revolt against this spiritual serfdom, but they do not understand him and he is driven to suicide. Thus, we can say that Brave New World deals chiefly with the theme of science affecting human life, the process of dehumanization, and the antagonism between the two worlds of scientific progress and primitive vitalism. So, these are the themes or important aspect of this novel which we have discussed today. That's all. Thank you.